In the Super Bowl, can Kevin Carter and the Ram defense continue as a silent killer? The answers begin to unfold tonight as the Super Bowl champion St. Louis Rams host the Denver Broncos on ABC's Monday Night Football.
Are you ready for some football? With a flash of thunder and a lightning strike, the storm in the field, sparks will fly tonight. We're charged and ready. The crowd goes berserk. It's a wake-up call. Time to go to work. You better get ready. It's going to get rough because Monday Night Football is powerful stuff. Come on and hit it. Come on and get ready. Are you ready for some football? A Monday night party? Yes, sir. The countdown to the kickoff has officially started. There's no neutral corner in this heavyweight fight. All my early friends are here for Monday night.
What does it look like and what does it sound like when fans welcome a championship team just like this? The Trans World Dome rocking as their Rams take on the Denver Broncos. I'm Al Michaels. Welcome to year 31 of Monday Night Football. We have a great schedule beginning tonight with the world champion Rams, who did not have a single winning season in the 90s until last year, when they went 13-3, then ran the table in the playoffs and brought home the Lombardi Trophy, which is on display here tonight. Meanwhile, the Broncos coming off their 2 Super Bowl wins, but last year suffered the post-John Elway hangover, wound up 6-10, think that they can get back to the mountaintop in 2000. So, from the shadow of the Gateway Arch, the gateway to the West, Monday Night Football year 2000 begins, the Broncos and the Rams. Back to St. Louis, there are few people on this planet who can more appreciate what the Rams did last year than our Hall of Fame quarterback, Dan Fouts. We're looking at a team tonight, Dan, that scored the 3rd most points in the history of the National Football League.
And you know, both defenses are really going to be tested tonight because they're going to look at the 2 most dominant passing styles in the NFL. The Bronco defenders will see the Rams version of Eric Coryell, a vertical offense that stretches the width of the field and gets the ball in these receivers' hands heading towards the goal line. Now the Broncos, a West Coast style of offense that will stretch the width of the field. Both are successful, both win championships, and both defenses are going to be tested tonight.
And with the fireworks going off in the background, Denver hopes that Terrell Davis can provide his own blend of fireworks this year. Back from knee surgery. More on that. Here's Melissa Stark. Melissa.
Al, that's the biggest question for the Broncos. Will Terrell Davis be the same player? In pregame warm-up, he looked tentative. He grabbed his knee a few times, even stumbled. Remember, he's playing on AstroTurf tonight, which is much firmer, much less forgiving than grass. He's not wearing a brace. In fact, he told his doctors before the surgery he never intended to wear a brace. He didn't want the reminder. Coach Mike Shanahan wants to ease him back into playing shape, so don't be surprised if you see Davis sharing time with the Landis-Gary's.
Melissa, one guy we will not ease into our lineup in this 31st season of Monday Night Football, Mr. Dennis Miller. You know, I'm looking at your wardrobe. This is a blast from the past. I love it.
First game, Al. Ladies and gentlemen, you knew I had to break out the colors. I want to talk for a second about Kurt Warner, a man who's seemingly as implacable as the pocket as most of us are in a hammock. Now, I attribute this to 2 reasons. First, his experience in the Arena Football League. I think the compacted nature of that venue must make Warner feel like he's gone from a bumper pool table to a snooker table. Secondly, and more importantly, I believe, is he has a deep and fervent belief in a higher power. No, I do not need Paul Tagliabue. Indeed, his debut was so preternatural last year, one can only assume that Warner is a latter-day Joe Hardy. And the simple fact is, since this guy found Christ, he finds the open man with uncanny frequency. TGIM, Al.
Did that jacket start last week in my closet?
It did, and let's get it right back there after the game amidst its Nehru's.
You can keep it. You talked about Warner. but the Rams are seeking more balance in their offense. For more on that, Eric Dickerson. Eric, what do they have to do?
Well, most definitely, Al, they've got to get Marshall Faulk back into the game. In the preseason, he's ran the ball 15 times for 75 yards. Now, it's going to be interesting to see if they can get this running game back on track. Now, keep in mind, not even the great John Elway could win a Super Bowl until they drafted Terrell Davis. Now, the only way they can do this is to get back on the legs of Marshall Faulk.
The Stars are out tonight in St. Louis. What a way to begin Monday Night Football. Mike Shanahan brings his Broncos in with Brian Griese at the helm against the world champions St. Louis Rams.
Knit 1, purl 2.
Bingo!
Mr. Barkley wins again.
These days, retirement can come sooner than you think. So let Schwab help you set up a tax-deferred IRA rollover account. Come visit us at schwab.com, and we can help you set up your IRA rollover account in just a few easy steps.
You got the upper.
So you can get the most out of your golden years.
ABC Sports welcomes you to the following presentation of the National Football League.
Mike Shanahan begins his 6th season as the Broncos head coach. Remember, in 1988, he was the head coach of the then Los Angeles Raiders and then was fired in '89. Mike Martz has never been a head coach on any level until tonight. He was their offensive coordinator last season, took over for the retired Dick Vermeil. Denver kicks off. Elam sends it down to Tony Horn, who led the league in kickoff return average last season, and he's tackled by Deltha O'Neal. And so the Rams come out. Kurt Warner to take over. Let's meet the Rams backs and receivers.
Kurt Warner, quarterback, University of Northern Iowa. Marshall Faulk, running back, San Diego State University. Robert Holcomb, fullback, University of Illinois. Roland Williams, tight end, Syracuse University. Torrey Holt, wide receiver, North Carolina State University. Isaac Bruce, wide receiver, University of Memphis.
Speed, and more speed. We'll meet the line in a second. First down at the 19-yard line. They begin with a double tight end set and start on the ground, and Faulk gets taken down by Eric Brown, the safety coming through to knock him down. Now let's meet the Rams up front, the interior five.
Orlando Pace, offensive tackle, Ohio State University. Tom Newton, left guard, Western Michigan University. Andy McCullum, center, University of Toledo. Adam Timmerman, offensive guard, South Dakota State University. Ryan Tucker, offensive tackle, Texas Christian University.
At second down and 15. And the Rams now empty the backfield. So Warner, a short drop, fires, slant, caught. Marshall Faulk out of the backfield to the 25-yard line. It'll be third down and 4. The Denver defense. The linemen and backers.
Mahatani Vasa, defensive end, University of Hawaii.
Keith Traylor, defensive tackle, Central Oklahoma.
Trevor Price, defensive tackle, Clemson.
Vika Pittman, defensive end, McNeese State University.
Glenn Cadrez, linebacker, University of Houston.
Al Wilson, linebacker, Tennessee.
Bill Romanowski, I'm an outside linebacker from Boston College.
And still missing, you'll notice, John Mobley, who had knee surgery last year, had arthroscopic knee surgery again, inactive tonight. They think he can play next week against Atlanta. On third down and 4, Warner's pass is incomplete. Is there a flag? There is none. Hakeem got up, looked immediately at the official. He's covered by the former Dolphin and Packer Terrell Buckley.
Terrell Buckley has wonderful coverage on this play. The fans thought he might have got a little bit of a left-handed grab there on Hakeem. Might have got away with it, but the ball was clearly uncatchable, sailing out of bounds.
Well, you know, Terrell's used to playing that tight man-to-man from down there in Miami, where he was like a latter-day Jimmy Marsalis. They said they're going to give him a little more help up here.
So 3 and out, and John Baker, a rookie, just signed last week to punt. And it is fair caught at the 41-yard line by Deltha O'Neal. 34-yard kick. Now here is Brian Griese, son of the Hall of Famer Bob Griese, who was here tonight. Terrell Davis back from knee surgery. Howard Griffiths is a former Ram. And then outside, Smith and McCaffrey are outstanding. And with Shannon Sharp in Baltimore, Dwayne Carswell is the starting tight end.
Great start for the Broncos on defense. 3 plays and out against the Rams. The key play was that first play when Brown goes in there and drops Falk for a 5-yard loss.
I was shocked they ran on first. Evidently, Denver wasn't.
Now from the 41. Denver begins as they give the ball to Terrell Davis, who carries the ball for the first time since the 4th week last season. Tony Jones up front for the Broncos, 13th year. Schlereth in his 12th. Nalen's a Pro Bowler. Dan Neal a good one. And Matt Lepsish. They are fast and they are light. There is not a single guy on the offensive line who weighs 300 pounds, and that is unique in the National Football League.
It's unique in college football these days, too.
Yes.
Well, we ran into their position coach, Alex Gibbs, today, and he's light, too. So I guess he likes people that way.
2nd and 6. Davis picks up a couple. It will be 3rd down and 4. So he covers, does carries. Davis does twice. And let's meet the Ram defense right now. The linemen and linebackers.
Kevin Carter, defensive end, University of Florida. Grant Wistrom, defensive end, University of Nebraska.
Ray Agnew, defensive tackle, North Carolina State University. DeMarco Farr, defensive tackle, University of Washington.
Todd Collins, linebacker, Carson Newman College.
London Fletcher, linebacker, John Carroll University.
Michael Jones, outside linebacker, University of Missouri.
Mike Jones, the big Super Bowl hero, made that tackle on Dyson. Now they give it to Davis again, who turns the corner and picks up a 1st down. So Davis, behind a Matt Lepsish block, after a year of rehab, comes back and carries the ball on Denver's first 3 plays.
I'm thinking he's rehabbed.
I'm thinking this is an awful good play by the Broncos. You talked about Matt Lepsish getting out in front. On 3rd down, they cross up the Rams and go with the running play. And there's that block by Lepsish on Jones. Davis has got the corner, and Davis has a wonderful start to his first game back from knee surgery.
1st and 10 at the 42-yard line. That's McCaffrey. 87 in motion as Greasy surveys. Great protection. Fires wide open at the 32 is Rod Smith, and the wide receiver gets to the 26 for a Denver 1st down. He's tackled by the safety Keith Lyle.
Now you talked about the key blocking on the last run. This pass protection's perfect. Watch how quickly Smith makes up his mind to get down the field. That's 7 extra yards after he caught the ball. There's that pass protection. There's a hole in the zone right there. Perfect decision, and 7 for yards.
Shanahan couldn't be happier. He gets his returning running back off, then he gets his young quarterback off on back-to-back plays.
And a 3 and out against the Rams. So it's a perfect start for Denver. This is caught by Carswell, and he takes the ball inside the 10 to the 9-yard line. It'll be 1st and goal. He is stopped there by London Fletcher.
And I might add to it, now he gets his new tight end off, too. So he's got all 3.
Well, and the Rams were in man-to-man defense. The corner followed the wide receiver Smith to the inside. That allowed Carswell to get to the outside. And right now, Gary Kubiak and Mike Shanahan's offensive plan could not be working better.
Well, you knew Shanahan was going to be ready. The guy's already a genius. Now he's a genius with a breather. He's coming out firing.
1st and goal, Denver at the St. Louis 8. The fake, the bootleg, Greasy wide open to the end zone.
Well, the kid's got to be feeling his oats now.
Well, when you've got it all going with the running with Davis to start the game, 3 straight running plays, then they get the couple of pass plays. The offense is just high as a kite because they're having success on every play. And then they come with a bootleg. The Rams fooled on 3 straight plays, and that gets the Broncos in the end zone.
It's almost like Shanahan wanted the mantle of unpredictable offensive genius back from Mike Martz, and he might have re-grabbed it there in the first series.
Elam for the point after. It makes it 7-0. So a perfect start. And the Broncos come in looking like the defending world champions. The fake to Davis, and then Greasy untouched. Taste that won't fill you up and never lets you down. Make it a Bud Light. The lights of St. Louis Denver lighting up the board first in the Trans World Dome. The kickoff taken by Tony Horn at the 1. He averaged 30 yards a return last year. Breaks a tackle, skips to the outside, and turns a 15-yard run back, had he been tackled earlier, into a 47-yard return. Ian Gold, the rookie out of Michigan, couldn't stop him at the 15, and it winds up costing them an extra 33 yards.
It looked like a total disaster right about here. He's kind of just coasting up there. There's a missed tackle right there by a Bronco, and now it's that famous Ram speed. As Horn gets to the outside, gets a beautiful block there, and the cameraman running right alongside of him, getting on down the field. Here's the block that sprung him right there.
You can't teach quicks, Danny.
That's Rich Cody. Beautiful block.
1st and 10 from the 47-yard line. Warner, play fake over the middle, wide open is Bruce. He fumbles inside the 35, but recovers himself. St. Louis retains possession. Terrell Buckley covering on the play.
See, that's the thing. When Bruce fumbles, you can't tell if they're saying Bruce or booing.
Well, after he gets it back, they're probably just saying Bruce. You talk about a wide open start to a ball game. This is fantastic.
Well, there's typical Warner there. It's like he's throwing darts in a British pub.
Good job of getting back after the ball by Ike Bruce right there, taking it away from 2 Broncos.
Typical track meet type beginning. Bruce lost a shoe, so Kroll is in the game. They pitch it back to Falk, and a great defensive play, knifing in Al Wilson to stop him.
Well, their rushing hangover continues. They didn't have a whole lot of yards in the postseason, and they haven't been able to tee it up yet.
Second and 12, 36.
Greg Robinson, the defensive coordinator, he's been with Shanahan since Mike took over in '95. In fact, Shanahan has kept his offensive and defensive coordinators, Kubiak and Robinson, and the 3 of them have been together longer than any such triumvirate in the National Football League currently. Bruce back in the game, 2nd down and 12 from the 36-yard line. 5 wide for the Rams. Nobody in the backfield, and still Warner has time. Winds up hitting Torrey Holt. Nice move there, and then he's tackled at the 30-yard line. Of course, he put the move on Keith Traylor, the defensive tackle.
Yeah, and we're seeing wide open defense too. Keith Traylor makes the tackle down the field because the Rams or the Broncos rather are only going to rush 2 men. Watch Traylor drop out of the middle. There he is right there. This is a heck of a play by a guy that weighs 305 pounds.
I'm not sure you want a regular diet of dropping your 305-pounder back into pass coverage, but I guess once in a while. So
I'll tell you, Torrey Holt's going to hear from his teammates on that one.
3rd down and 6. Warner hangs in, then throws, caught. Falling to the ground was Hakeem, but he's able to get up and pick up the 1st down. Had they tackled him when he went down, he would have been short of the 1st. He gets up and picks up the 1st down.
Well, they had so confused the Denver coverage, he had time to fall down, spin over, and get up and still make the 1st.
Well,
wide open.
And the ump cam's going to show him fall down here. There he is, but there are no Broncos around. Heads up by Hakeem. No, he just needed a couple of yards for the 1st.
That's as big a gap as you're going to find around 8 yards off the line.
1st and 10. Warner has already connected with 4 different receivers. 8 minutes into the game. Sets up the screen. This is Falk. That's his 2nd reception. And Marshall to the 18, where he's tackled by the safety, Eric Brown.
It's all part of the offensive script with Mike Martz. What he's trying to do, a number of things. Change the formations, change the motion, change your personnel, make the Broncos adjust on the run. And it also makes the Broncos have to account for not only Falk as a running back, but as a receiver. And the other thing, Al, as you just mentioned, all these other guys are getting involved in the game. That gets them in the game mentally as well as physically.
Get a feeling the guy working the scoreboard might end up with carpal tunnel syndrome after tonight.
2nd down and 5. Kroll in motion. Falk swings to the outside. Nice move. Takes it to the 10-yard line. Cut down by Billy Jenkins.
Marshall Falk's the most dangerous offensive weapon in the NFL. Last year when the Rams handed him the ball, he got 5 yards a carry. He led them in receiving with 87. He's a legitimate threat to go all the way on any play. And the thing I love about him is he touched the ball 340 times last year and only fumbled twice. That's remarkable.
You know, Falk actually got up a little gimpy. We'll keep an eye on him after that last play. The ball is at the 12-yard line. Falk stays in the block, and then Warner throws, and the catch is made at the 8-yard line by Isaac Bruce. Denver says no. The officials confer with each other and say yes.
Warner, stunning accuracy.
They probably should review this one because it looked like Bruce only got one leg down. But the Rams will have a call if they think that they're going to have a review play, and they'll get right to the line of scrimmage.
Well, March told us when we met with him the other day, if there's any discrepancy about it, whether the call is, he's going to call fast, 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 and get people to the line so they can get a play off.
And they're going to say it was an incomplete pass.
So it renders it moot after the officials conferred with each other. One said in, the other said out. Second down and 10 from the 11-yard line. Warner looking and throwing. It's tipped in the air. It is intercepted by the linebacker Wilson, who takes it back to the 9-yard line. So this Ram drive, as they march down the field, ends with a tip, ends with a pick, and Denver has it back, to the consternation of Mike Martz.
Kurt Warner threw 5 interceptions in the red zone last year. This one was not his fault. The ball is knocked away from Williams. There's Al Wilson with his first career interception, and what a big one it is.
Denver gets it back. 5:22 left in the quarter. 7-0 Broncos. Denver has the ball. There's some concern about Kurt Warner and his hand. We'll detail it in a second as Denver takes over after the interception. From the 8-yard line, they give the ball to Terrell Davis, and he picks up 2. They were examining Warner's hand when he came back, and he apparently was shaken on the play before the interception when he went down in the arms of Tanuvasa.
This is a quarterback's worst nightmare, is to get his hand hit as he's throwing the ball. 98 is Tanuvasa, and it looked like Warner's right hand came down on the top of Tanuvasa's helmet.
And that was the play before the interception. Remember, last year Warner had 5 red zone interceptions, most in the league. That's his one Achilles heel, and tonight he gets picked on opening night. McCaffrey makes the catch, seeks the first down, and gets it to the 19-yard line, covered by Dexter McLean. Dan, let's go back and take a look at the pick by Wilson.
Trying to get the ball to the tight end, Roland Williams over the middle. Good tight coverage on him. Ball pops up in the air. There's Wilson to make the grab, and the Denver defense gave up a lot of yards there, but when it came down to the red zone, Romanowski got that left hand in there. The old tip drill gets the interception.
Well, it's a high-risk, high-reward Ram offense, and you have anybody who misses it down that close, it's so tight, somebody's going to intercept it.
Here's Davis now to the 22. Greasy has begun the game 3 for his first 3, and Davis has carried 5 times for 22 yards. Now let's meet the Ram secondary.
8-3, 2nd and 7.
Todd Light, defensive back, University of Notre Dame.
Dexter McLeon, cornerback, Clemson University.
Devin Bush, safety, Florida State University. Keith Lyle, free safety, University of Virginia.
And the man who's missing from last year is Billy Jenkins, who now wears a Denver uniform and starts in their secondary. Toss back to Davis. Room to roam. And Terrell takes it up to the 28-yard line. Devin Bush makes the hit. And Dan, in looking at Davis, he looks like a guy who hadn't had to go through rehab.
You know, it's hard to tell that it's his right knee or his left knee. It was his right knee. And the plan for Davis, according to Gary Kubiak, the offensive coordinator, is for him to carry the ball 25 times tonight and for Olandis Gary to get it 15. Well, that's 40 rushes. If the Broncos get that, they win in a walkaway.
Testimony to Davis's greatness. He didn't play last year, and he still averaged 1,000 yards a year for the last 2.
3rd and 1, and this is Howard Griffith. They give it to the fullback to try to get the first down, and the ex-Ram, who doesn't carry that often, but is a blocker and a receiver, and the ball had been whistled dead, but the skirmish continues. And now the punt team will come out because they have stopped him shy of the first down.
And that little skirmish is all about attitude. The Broncos say, we're not a 6-10 team. We've won back-to-back Super Bowls. The Rams say, well, we're the Super Bowl champs. Come and get it.
Hakeem is back to receive. Hakeem has had a problem holding on to the ball, both last year and in preseason. Tom Ruin, one of the best in the league. Tremendous kick. Hakeem fields it back at the 15-yard line, and it's going to break one. Hakeem with only the punter to beat. Ruin can't knock him down. He'll go all the way for a touchdown.
The punter was left in ruins.
No flag.
Well, he might have finicky hands once in a while, but when he does lock it in, the guy flies.
Yards on the return by Hakeem. Now the extra point for Wilkins. And the Rams, who scored 11 touchdowns last season on various types of returns, score their first touchdown of 2000 on a return. With 2:05 left in the first, 7-7 as you look at Union Station, the Center for Train Transportation in the early 1900s, now an entertainment center in St. Louis. The Rams kicking off as the kick is fielded by Delta O'Neal, the Broncos' #1 pick, return man and defensive back out of the University of California, bringing it back to the 30-yard line. What a beginning in St. Louis. Denver marches down the field to take the early lead, and then Hakeem goes 86 on a punt return. We're locked at 7. Trans World Dome in St. Louis. Game tied 7-7. Late first quarter. Brian Greasy from the 30-yard line. Protected well, and that pass is through the hands of Rod Smith. Over the middle, covered by Dexter McLean.
This punt return is just an example of out-kicking your coverage. 58 yards on the punt. Watch how far back Hakeem has to go for this. He gets a key block from Dre Bly, number 32, right there. And now he's going to pick up his wide receiver buddy, Tony Horn, 82, working on Ruin. And Hakeem is gone.
And
there's the block, 32 right there. And now he's in the secondary. And
Hakeem never even went into 5th gear.
2nd and 10. Greasy again protected well, and again Rod Smith had a glance off his hand, so he goes to Smith twice over the middle, and it's 3rd down and 10. Well, a look from outside. Beautiful night here in St. Louis, cooling down after a very hot weekend, and the Budweiser Bud 1 airship floating high above the gateway city, gateway to the west, on the banks of the mighty Mississippi.
I'm just glad we're in the Trans World Dome. If we were in the United Dome, would have probably delayed the game an hour and a half or pushed it back till tomorrow.
Tonight only an hour and 15 on 3rd down and 10. Going deep is Smith. He makes this catch with double coverage and gets it to the 23. So he goes twice to Smith underneath short. He can't make the catch, then goes long with double coverage, and they move the chains all the way into Ram territory, deep into it.
He's working against Dexter McLeon, 21. He's going to get help, McLeon is, from Keith Lyle, 35. That's desire right there. Knowing the ball is thrown just a little bit short, reaching back with his hands to make the catch over the top of Lyle's head. Talk about competing. You drop 2 easy ones, and then you make almost an impossible one.
47 yards on 3rd and 10. Greasy's already thrown for 90 yards in the quarter. He gives the ball to Davis, who swings to the outside, but the Rams string him out, and Fletcher knocks him down. The fire plug at 5'10", 240, London Fletcher, in his 3rd year out of John Carroll. So important in the Ram defense, which last year was overlooked, but was ranked 6th in the league.
Fletcher says that the key with Davis is to string him out, just as you said, Al. He's such a dynamic cutback runner that you have to maintain leverage on him and then go after him. Fletcher plays with great leverage. He has to. He's only 5'10", but he plays a lot like number 50 of the Chicago Bears, Mike Singletary.
6th overall last year, Al. 1st against the rush, only 74.3 yards a game.
Second and 9 coming across the line with flags down, and the pass is just thrown out of bounds because Todd Collins, the linebacker lined up on the outside, came across the line. Jerry Austin is the referee tonight. There are 2 flags down, 2 separate calls here.
And both of them, I believe, are going to be against Denver.
Play, offside, defense, 54. That penalty is declined.
All right, offside against Collins.
There's Collins jumping off sides. I said the Broncos. I meant the Rams because they also get a pass interference call or holding in the secondary. Greasy with a smart job of knowing he's got Collins off sides, continuing the play and getting some free yardage.
And that holding call on Dexter McLean is what results in the automatic first down at the 14-yard line.
Well, any kid above Greasy, as you know, is going to be football savvy.
Yep.
First and 10 from the 14-yard line. Davis through the middle, and on the final play of the quarter, he takes it to the 13-yard line. So the Broncos deep in Ram territory as the teams will change ends here at the Trans World Dome. End of 1, it's Denver 7, St. Louis 7. And Monday Night Football will return after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Al Michaels with Dan Fouts, Dennis Miller, Melissa Stark, Eric Dickerson. Sunday night on ESPN, it's the Cowboys and the Cardinals. And the Cowboys right now wondering about the availability of Troy Aikman. And next Monday night, we go to the Meadowlands. The New England Patriots, losing yesterday to Tampa Bay, go to the Meadowlands to take on the Jets, coming off their victory over Green Bay.
Sure, Greasy would like to have Shannon Sharp down here.
Shannon in Baltimore from high above with Robert Brooks, the ex-Packer in the game, as a wideout. On second and 10, they give the ball to Davis, and Terrell fights his way to the 8-yard line off a Mark Schlereth block, setting up a third down and 5.
Well, Shanahan on offense in the red zone wants to give the ball to number 30, Terrell Davis. You see him take himself out of the game here, but watch from the ceiling of the Trans World Dome, the blocking up front is excellent. This is a very mobile offensive line, and they get Terrell inside the 10-yard line.
Are we sure Terrell was actually hurt last year?
Well, he's out right now. Olandis Gary is in the game on third down and 5 from the 8-yard line. Greasy under pressure. Sacked at the 14. London Fletcher chases him down. So Davis has to come out for a breather. Gary goes in. Greasy can't find anybody open. Under pressure, and they're forced to settle for a field goal attempt.
Fletcher is a highly motivated young man because he was never drafted. People said he was too small, but his goal is to get 10 tackles a game. That's his short-term goal. His long-term goal is to be like Mike.
Well, he had 138 tackles last year. Not quite 10 a game, but
32-yard attempt for Jason Elam, the 2-time Pro Bowler, is good. And that gives Denver the lead again. Fletcher got the sack, but Elam cashes in for 3. Bronx by 3. For a Bronco fan, that is a pretty unsettling sight. We don't know exactly what's going on. Maybe it's just a rewrap, but anytime you're working on Terrell Davis's lower extremities, you have to be concerned, at least for the moment.
Yeah, it appears it's his right ankle. Of course, it's his right knee that was operated on.
He had to come out of the game before the last play. Now, after Elam kicks the field goal, it's Jason to boot it from the 30-yard line down to Tony Horn. Horn from the 5. Swinging to the outside and real good coverage by the Broncos. Their special teams coach Rick Dennison has to be thrilled the way they covered that kickoff against the guy who led the league in kickoff returns last year. And we weren't lying. There's Dennison. Well, the last time we saw Warner, he was on the sidelines. They were checking his hand, and he warmed up. So now he's back in the game for his first play since he threw the interception prior to the Denver drive. And we'll keep an eye on him, obviously. From the 11-yard line, the Rams begin this thrust. 1st and 10. Start with Falk. Nowhere. Buried underneath Kadrez and Trailer. Melissa, what do you know about Terrell Davis?
Al, it looks like it's his left ankle. The trainer has taped it. He's walking around on the sideline with the trainer. He's staying very close to him. That's all we know at this point. We'll update you as soon as we know.
That didn't look like a rewrap. The artist Christo didn't use that much fabric when he enveloped the Pont Neuf.
But you know what they did is they wrapped both his ankles so that the Rams don't know which of the ankles is sore. Brilliant tape job by the trainer down.
Steve Antonopoulos, the trainer, playing the role of Christo. 2nd down and 10.
I love that call, Dan.
And the catch is made up at the 25-yard line by Torrey Holt.
They're feeding him some disinformation.
Well, obviously, there's nothing wrong with Kurt Warner's right hand. He might have jammed his wrist a little bit earlier in the game. This is a real good sign. Out away from pressure, throwing on the run, perfect pass, 1st down for the Rams to get them out from underneath their own goalpost. Using the entire field, stretching that defense of the Broncos.
Now Hakeem lines up in the backfield and then splits out to the left on 1st down from the 25-yard line. Back to the ground. Big hole. He exploits it. Runs by the safety at the 45 into Denver territory. Tackled at the 48-yard line by Ray Crockett after a gain of 27.
Marks has so many toys.
And he's so willing to use them all. Lining Hakeem up in the backfield and then splitting him out. The Broncos are spread out on defense. 1-2 good blocks right up the middle. No middle linebacker. And that's got to be a mistake by Denver. You've got to keep somebody in the middle when Marshall Faulk is still in the backfield.
We didn't get the best shot from the ump cam because play was coming right at him. He was probably afraid he was about to get clocked.
Like a matador.
On the 48-yard line. Warner swings it out. Safety valve, Robert Fulton. At the beginning of the telecast, Eric Dickerson talking about the Rams trying to balance their offense a little bit more. Take a look at that. Last year in the 3 playoff games, 90% of the yardage gained by the Rams came through the air. Their longest run was 11 yards over 3 games. Now in the first quarter tonight, plus what just happened here with Marshall Faulk, they're up to 26 yards. They were -1. Faulk just ran for 27. So until that moment, there had been a tremendous unbalance. Is disbalance a word, Dennis?
Well, there might be a disbalance, but it's balancing on the fulcrum of the Vince Lombardi Trophy, which resides here.
2nd down and 6. It's caught at the 29-yard line by Torrey Holt. And that's a 1st down.
Well, the key for the Rams is if they can get a threat with the running game with Faulk, then they'll get man-to-man coverage on the outside. A little play action roll here again by Warner, and look at this sharp route to the outside, and the Rams are in business. Torrey Holt with the catch this time in front of Ray Crockett. That March doesn't matter, doesn't care if it's disbalanced or unbalanced. He's going to throw that ball.
From the 30-yard line, Warner. Now the protection finally breaks down because the secondary did such a great job, and Mike Lodish will get a gift sack. And you can credit that sack to the secondary, the Denver secondary doing its job and providing enough time for Lodish to get in there. Sunday, a big television event. Gary Shandling will be hosting the 52nd annual Primetime Emmy Awards live right here on ABC. Dennis Miller up for an Emmy.
Jeez, you're kidding me out.
Yes.
You know, Al, I'm standing here doing a game with Dennis Miller, and all I can think about is Gary Shandling.
Me too. Second down and 12. And that is Ricky Prohl making the catch at the 22-yard line. Billy Jenkins.
They're going to wave this one off as the
They're going to wave this off. They're going to wave it off.
Yep. And Prohl's not happy about it.
Well, the Rams offense last year Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, no matter who they went to. Ricky Prohl, of course, that catch coming in the NFC Championship game against Tampa.
That's the big one.
Yep, that took him to the Super Bowl. This is going to be challenged right now. We have a challenge by Mike Martz. Remember, you get two challenges a game.
Is challenging the play on the field that was ruled incomplete.
So Jerry Austin will go over to the monitor. When he puts the headset on, the 90-second clock will start to tick. You take a look here.
That's a catch under the new rules because he had control of the ball before the ball hit the ground. Last year, that's an incomplete pass, but according to Jerry Seaman, this play looks a lot like what happened to Tampa last year in this very arena.
Well, the question now becomes, Emmanuel clearly had possession and the ball touched the ground. I'm looking at this here, Dan, and I don't know that Prohl, I think the whole question is, does he have complete possession of the ball before the ball touches the ground? That is the call here, or the question that Jerry Austin's going to have to decide.
He's got it there, and it looked like it might have slipped out of his hand just at the very last minute when it did reach the ground. It's be a tough one for the officials. This is what happened last year.
Now, last year, take a look at this. This was the key play with Sean King throwing to Bert Emanuel, and because the ball touched the ground, it was ruled an incomplete pass. It was a huge call, as you recall. This year, that exact play is a complete pass. This is a little bit different because the question is, I mean, clearly Emanuel had control. The question is, does Prohl have control? And I don't think so.
But, you know, in that picture, you know,
it's not in control of the receiver, and it does touch the ground. It's an incomplete pass. St. Louis is charged with a timeout.
I think the difference is that when Manuel had the ball, it was closer to his body. This ball that Prohl had to really stretch out, and when he brought it down to the ground, it was clear he didn't have complete control.
And the ball was wobbling around. They got that call right. That costs the Rams a timeout, because when you challenge and the challenge is not successful, that costs you a timeout. So now as play resumes, it is 3rd down and 12.
They got that call right, but when you look back on that Emanuel thing, that rule was wrong-headed because obviously it kept it.
On 3rd and 12, wide open at the 15-yard line is Torrey Holt, and Holt takes it inside the 5.
Torrey Holt picking up where he left off in the postseason last year when he had 20 catches.
You know, and I think, I like that challenge because it gave the Rams a chance to rest a little bit on offense. Their offensive line had been giving up a lot of pressure. That time, Warner had a lot of time to throw. And boy, it's beautiful when Holt or Akeem or Bruce gets their hands on the ball in the secondary. And how many times do we see him so wide open? Even the ump cam couldn't keep up with that one.
And not since Montana has any quarterback hit so many people in complete stride. They don't have to hesitate for a millisecond.
Quick count, cutting it back is Falk, touchdown. They come up in 4 wides. Quick snap. Falk starts right, goes left. Ian Gold blows the tackle. Touchdown, St. Louis.
Gold has never seen a back like Marshall Falk. The play was designed to go off right tackle. It ends up going off of left tackle. Only Marshall Falk can make that play right there. Goes into the end zone very quietly.
That's the new bob and weave, I suppose. Point after, tacked on by Wilkins.
Everybody's worried about me using profanity. The only F word I might say a lot this year is Falk.
I ain't worried. Good start to this one. 8:53 to the half. 14-10. Mike Martz, a head coach for the first time ever at the age of 49, born in South Dakota, grew up in Southern California. Longtime assistant both in college and the professional ranks, and his team has the lead as the kickoff is down by O'Neal in the end zone. Monday Night Football is being brought to you by Budweiser, with a crisp, clean, refreshing taste you'll find in no other beer. Avaya, communication without boundaries. Charles Schwab, when we created a smarter kind of investment firm, we also created a smarter kind of investor. And by Visa, the preferred card of the NFL. Visa, it's everywhere NFL fans want to be. A little ragtime in St. Louis on opening night. Orlandis Gary starts in the backfield, so Terrell Davis is still on the bench. They swing Gary out to the right. The pass goes to McCaffrey. That's a gain of 9 as we check in with Melissa Stark again. Melissa?
Al, the last thing Terrell Davis needed was another injury. Now he has one. He has twisted his left ankle, and his return is questionable.
Oh, boy.
Especially on the turf, though. It's hard to read into exactly what's happening so far, but if you do want to get him off any surface, it's this one with a tweaked ankle.
Yeah, he's off to a great start. He had 34 yards in just 9 carries. Looked good.
And now Gary, who averaged almost 100 yards per game as a rookie, struts his stuff and picks up the first down to the 34. Another kid out of the University of Georgia. That's the same school, of course, that produced Terrell Davis. And Davis is 3 years before his injury, as you can see, 96 to 98, including the 2 Super Bowl years. He had the most rushing yards over 3 consecutive seasons than anybody in the history of the league, including our man Eric Dickerson, whose name now is emblazoned on the Ring of Honor here in St. Louis. Eric, born in 1983, died in 1987. Those are his years as a Ram, of course, in Los Angeles. First and 10 from the 34. Greasy buys a ton of time and goes deep for Smith, and it's batted away. Dexter McClean saving a touchdown.
Just a matter of that ball being a little bit underthrown, hanging up too long in the air, allowed McCleon, who has good makeup speed here. Smith's got him beat right there, but this ball's going to hang too long. Smith will slow down just a bit. There's the catch-up speed, the right-hand spike. Beautiful play by Dexter McCleon.
The very definition of McCleon's duties right there.
You know, he came close. He could have tried to pick that one off. He had that type of makeup speed.
Second and 10 from the 34-yard line. Draw, Gary, big hole. Gets into the secondary and is tackled close to a first down by Keith Lyle.
Well, not bad when Terrell does go down to have Gary come in. And, you know, it's amazing is they got a 6th and a 4th on those 2 draft picks out of Georgia. 6th round and 4th round for Davis and Gary.
Howard Griffith, number 29, with a key block on this play. Watch him take care of London Fletcher right there. That got Gary the first down.
First and 10 at the 44-yard line. McCaffrey in motion. Back to Gary they go. Keeping it simple, picks up a couple. Gains 2 to the 46-yard line with 6:40 to go in the half. And if you haven't heard, Charlie Sheen is going to join the cast of Spin City. So it's Charlie and Heather Locklear on an all-new season of Spin City Wednesdays this fall. Dennis,
well,
right here.
Heather used to be married to Tommy Lee. She's used to dealing with incorrigibles, but Charlie's a good kid. I've met him, and let's hope he's the comeback player of the year in the sitcom field.
Wednesday night this fall here on ABC. Rams up 14 to 10. Second down 8. Greasy improvising. Looking, throws back across his body on Elway, and then Rod Smith won't handle it. I say a la Elway because we're so used to seeing John go to one side of the field and throw back to the other side of the field.
But nobody's a la Elway.
Right.
It's impossible to compare anybody, and I mean anybody, maybe except Jeff George, with the arm strength of John Elway. That's the difference on this play. Elway does not hang that ball up in the air to Smith. He zips it a little bit harder, but it's a great effort by Greasy to find Smith. Smith's got to make that catch in traffic, though.
And there's an official booth edict. Other than arm strength, we can never mention Jeff George and John Elway in the same sentence.
Greasy trying to emulate Elway. And Denver has to take a timeout prior to a 3rd and 8. That's upcoming with 5:58 to the half. St. Louis 14, Denver 10. .58 remaining in the first half. ESPN will have Arizona against Dallas for you. It begins at 8:30 Eastern time on Sunday. And then next Monday, our gang moves into the Meadowlands, the Patriots and the Jets. 3rd down and 8 after the timeout. St. Louis up by 4. McCaffrey in motion. Greasy. Room to run. First down and a lot more. And down he goes at the 36-yard line, tackled by Keith Lyle. 18-yard gain. Let's go to Melissa Starr.
Paul Tagliabue is now entering his second decade as NFL commissioner. You had a busy weekend. What were your impressions of the NFL 2000 kickoff?
Well, it looks like we picked up where we left off last year with great football with Tennessee and Buffalo last night, and Vinny Testaverde and Brett Favre going at each other. A lot of young, good quarterbacks. So it was fun.
Now, when you see a team like the St. Louis Rams come out of nowhere and then win a Super Bowl, what does that say about the NFL?
Well, it says a lot about Dick Vermeil and the job that he did last year, but it says we got a league with tremendous balance and tremendous competition. I think that's great for the fans.
Thanks very much. Enjoy the game.
Thank you, Melissa. It does say a lot about Dick Vermeil, a guy who we haven't really talked about tonight, except to mention that he retired last year. Go Rams, emblazoned on that skyscraper here in St. Louis. But Vermeil, he didn't wait very long, Dan. As you'll recall, less than 48 hours later, he said, I'm done, and Mike Martz took over. It was a seamless transition.
It was one of the all-time great comebacks for a coach in the history of the game. Congratulations, Dick.
Second down and 8 from the 34-yard line. Again, Davis on the shelf. His return is questionable. The catch is made by Howard Griffith, and he takes it to the 25-yard line. Tackled there by Mike Jones.
Al, do you think Vermeil might have any second thoughts? It's such an armada over here.
Yes, I do, Dennis. I really do, even though Dick would say no. I think he made the decision maybe a little too rapidly. Not that he wouldn't have made the same call a week later, but I would have preferred to see Dick wait a few days, assess it. Instead, he made it very, very quickly.
Very few can go out with a Super Bowl trophy.
Even less with 2.
From the 25, Greasy throws, slant to Smith, and Rod Smith takes it into the end zone.
Beautiful. Wow, Greasy looks great.
Well, he looks very confident, doesn't he? You know, I think the running plays, he's carried the ball twice for 26 yards. He's got a touchdown. I think that's given him confidence. He knows he can get it done. He's making the right decisions. He finds Smith getting inside Todd Light there. Light cannot let a receiver get inside him so close to the goal line. And there's the strength of Rod Smith and the desire to get in the end zone. Beautiful play.
Elam for the point after. So Rod Smith for the touchdown. Rod has 88 receiving yards tonight. Rod Smith has had 3,000-yard seasons in a row, on his way to a 4th. 3:50 left. Broncos go 80 yards in a tick over 5 minutes. Rod Smith pays it off. Horn is back to receive. Jason Elam to kick off. Good first half. Teams marching up and down the field. Denver leading 17-14. Horn from the 8. Back up to the 23-yard line. And that's where the Rams will begin this next drive. Kurt Warner, 9 of 13. Again, Terrell Davis with an ankle injury. His return, as Melissa told us, is questionable. Puts the towel around his neck, and Broncos have to wonder about him. At least next week, he goes back on the familiar grass surface of Mile High Stadium. But Olandis Gary, who did such a brilliant job last year, is the guy who will once again have to pick up the slack tonight.
It's a two-dog night for the Broncos.
First and 10 from the 23-yard line. Warner under pressure, then throws and a little bit behind Robert Holcomb. Well, guys, we've done 3 preseason games, but there's nothing like the real deal. What an atmosphere here tonight.
God, it's charged, man. We've had a great time here in St. Louis. I want to thank the people over at Budweiser, August Busch, Tony Pontera. They've treated us real nicely, gave us a nice commemorative gift right before we went on tonight. They've been real classy, especially since I was on TV Guide last week under the auspices of Miller Time. I thought that was pretty open-minded to them.
You cover the earth, don't you?
Great game, huh, Danny?
Yeah, I liked Mama Campese's last night, too.
Second down and 10 from the 23-yard line. I start plugging hotels, but not till next week. This is caught up at the 35-yard line by Marshall Faulk for a first down. Tackled by Ian Gold.
You know, Kurt Warner just loves to be blitzed. He is a more effective quarterback when he is pressured because his eyes light up. He knows he's got a chance to make a big play, and he's a counter puncher who's looking for the knockout, not just to respond to a blitz, but to really put him out of their misery.
And Shanahan and Marks have definitely placed this one in the heavyweight division. You've got two great offensive minds going at it here.
Toss, Falk to the 38-yard line. He got in behind Ryan Tucker, almost pushed him out of the way, and tried to cut it back. Aerial coverage tonight provided by the Bud 1 airship. Bud 1 airship high above the Trans World Dome here in St. Louis. Trevor Price is still down on the turf, so an injury timeout here for the Bronco defensive lineman, their #1 pick out of Clemson in 1997, and a guy who has really developed into one of the premier defensive tackles in the National Football League.
One of Shanahan's big worries in the preseason is they were giving up 5.2 yards per carry to the opposition. They certainly can't afford to lose Trevor Price for any amount of time.
He's so unique as a defensive tackle. You saw the fact he had those 13 sacks last year. Speaking of sacks, we got a hurting Cowboy, don't we?
We have Troy Aikman, who suffered yesterday his 9th concussion, the 7th he has suffered as a Dallas Cowboy, and there's no word as to his availability just yet for the Arizona game on Sunday, Dan. They're just going to evaluate him day to day. Randall Cunningham, who backs him up, was also injured yesterday, sprained thumb, but appears to be okay.
Take a look at the injury, and it's just a head knocking one where he ran actually into his own man.
2nd and 6.
Harold Hasselback comes in to replace him now as Price goes to the sideline, and a little flip out to Hakeem. Marshall Faulk took it and then flipped it with Hakeem taking it initially, and then he flips it back to Marshall Faulk. Down he goes, but gets it away. Backward pass, and then Faulk gets taken down by Eric Brown.
This is from Marks' surreal package.
Well, this is an old play that Don Coryell invented. We used to give it to Buford McGee. He'd pitch it back to Gary Anderson. It worked a little bit better in San Diego than that one there, but they still got the first down.
And they can't get the snap off before the 2-minute warning. So 2 minutes left in a real good first half. Opening night, year 31 of Monday Night Football. Denver by 3. This with Watermelon Man? Is that what we do?
I didn't think my plugs were that obvious.
That's when you had a full beard. You kind of look like a long-lost relative.
NFL bloopers and a bio blast on Ed McCaffrey coming up on the Toyota halftime show as Warner falling backward, throws and hits Hakeem. Play is dead. So this is all for naught for Buckley. Can save his breath. Gain of 5 at the 48-yard line.
And Buckley's got to hustle back now because the Rams are going with a no-huddle offense.
They have 2 timeouts remaining. They're at the 48 on 2nd down and 5. Warner out of the shotgun. And that is caught at the 43. Great move by Hakeem. And he takes it to the 33. As I mentioned, NFL bloopers and the McCaffrey bio blast coming up on the Toyota halftime show.
You
First
cannot
and 10 at the 34.
Now you just can't miss a tackle like Eric Brown did on that play.
Bruce. Hard for 2 guys to miss a tackle. Jimmy Spencer is right there, along with Billy Jenkins.
See how hard the turf is even after plays are over. Just as they go down, it bounces out.
Timeout, Rams, their second.
Rams, 30 seconds.
We were down on this before the game, and it's just, well, for a neophyte, for somebody who hasn't been in a lot of stadiums, I'm just amazed that these people end up playing on this and not more people get hurt. It is unbelievable, the adhesion. I can't imagine the rug burns you get.
There's the QB comparison tonight. 133 yards for Greasy, 144 for Warner. Bryan with a touchdown pass. Warner had that one interception, which was a deflected pass.
I think we're seeing some remnants of a rug burn right there.
I don't know. That's Mike Schlereth. That might be another surgery.
Schlereth has been scoped more than a redneck, abducted by aliens.
2nd down and 5, and that is caught at the 8-yard line by Torrey Holt.
This is the staple of March's offense. slant route. It's a post pattern. Warner gets back in rhythm and fires a strike.
No huddle, 4 wideouts. Warner almost hit from behind, but gets it away. Touchdown, Ricky Prohl.
Warner is impervious to a pass rush. He doesn't even smell it.
They are a fast break basketball team.
And the guy that he was impervious to was Ray Crockett coming on the corner blitz, but he's so light he's not heavy enough to make the sounds of footprints. So Warner didn't feel him, he didn't see him, he didn't hear him.
Warner is downright contemplative in that pocket, though. That's, God, in addition to all his other strengths, that's a great one.
Wilkins tacks on the extra point. Ricky Prohl did not have a single touchdown reception in the regular season last year. He had that big one in the playoffs. Tonight he's on the board again. And St. Louis has the lead, 21-17 on the pass to Ricky Prohl. 38 seconds remaining in the half.
Now let's go back and take a look at this post pattern by Warner. Gets the ball away, up high for Holt. He catches it in rhythm in front of Jimmy Spencer. That got the Rams down there. And when the Rams are operating like this, they're just so fast. Even Warner sets up quickly, gets the ball out to Ricky Prohl.
Torrey Holt with some beautiful work there in the middle. He had to know that the hit was coming. Kid shows a lot for a second-year man, doesn't he?
Yeah, this is where a quarterback really earns his money, and Kurt has got a lot of money to earn. Coming off of what he did last year, he deserves every penny. He hit 6 of 7 on that drive for 65 yards.
Nice to see the right guy get it.
Deltha O'Neal to run back the Wilkins kick. The #1 draft choice, the rookie from the University of California, gets hammered at the 25-yard line. First guy to pop him was Leonard Little. Second big special teams play for Little tonight. And now with 30 seconds remaining and 2 timeouts, Broncos will have it at about the 24-yard line.
There's a shot by Miller, and then Matt Bowen comes in, the rookie out of Iowa. Deltha O'Neal, a rookie out of Cal, gets a shot from Little there, and then wearing number 27 is Matt Bowen.
Deltha's got to take a little hint from Tony Horn and Oz Hakeem. You got to pick a spot and you got to go.
Little hesitation there really cost him physically.
From the 24, it's Gary on the ground, and the Broncos appear content to run out the clock, at least by calling that play and not calling a timeout, and they will run the clock out and go into the locker room down by 4. Miami against Washington, Oregon and Wisconsin, and Missouri against Clemson are the regional college games coming your way on ABC this Saturday.
How about them Ducks?
How about this game? Good half. Mike Shanahan and the Broncos going back to their locker room. Rams lead 21-17. Let's go to Melissa Stark.
Let's see. Coach Shanahan with Kurt Warner doing what he does best.
We don't seem to have the answer right now. Hopefully we can make a couple adjustments in halftime and play a little bit better in the second half.
With Terrell Davis out, how does that change the game plan?
It really does. Orlandis is going to carry the bulk of the load, and if he goes down, we got Mike Anderson. Orlandis has proven he can play, and hopefully we'll have a good second half.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay, Melissa, so at the half, the Rams, the defending champions, leading the Denver Broncos 21-17. The Toyota halftime show with classic NFL bloopers and a bio blast of Ed McCaffrey as we come back after this message from the NFL and a word from our ABC stations.